They say every great story is a story of struggle, of a dream forged in the crucible of doubt, tested by the fires of adversity, and ultimately vindicated by a spirit that refuses to break. It's the story of the underdog, the pioneer, the revolutionary idea that everyone dismissed until they couldn't. This isn't just the story of a company or a person. This is the story of a digital ghost, an anonymous creator, and a single line of code that would challenge the very foundations of money itself. This is the story of Bitcoin and its stormy, improbable journey from a forgotten corner of the internet to the king of a new financial world. Our story begins not in a Silicon Valley garage or a Wall Street boardroom, but in the quiet anonymity of 2009. The world was still reeling from the 2008 financial crisis, a moment that shattered trust in the traditional banking system for millions of Americans. It was in this climate of uncertainty that a mysterious figure, known only as Satoshi Nakamoto, released a white paper and mined the very first block of a new digital currency, the Genesis block, containing 50 bitcoins. No one knew who Satoshi was, a person, a group. What mattered was the idea, a decentralized, peer-to-peer form of money, free from the control of any government or bank. On January 9, 2009, history was made with the first ever Bitcoin transaction, a simple transfer from Nakamoto to a developer named Hal Finney. For a while, it was little more than a digital curiosity, a project for a handful of programmers and cryptographers. Then came 2010, a year that would forever be immortalized in crypto lore. A programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz, wanting to prove this digital token could have real-world value, made a now-famous offer on an internet forum. He would pay 10,000 bitcoins to anyone who would order and deliver 2 pizzas to his home in Florida. Someone took him up on the offer. 2 large pizzas from Papa John's were delivered, and the first ever real-world commercial transaction for Bitcoin was complete. That day, May 22nd, is now celebrated as Bitcoin Pizza Day, a humble, almost comical milestone for what was to come. Later that year, the Mt.gox exchange launched, and for the first time, Bitcoin had a price, a whisper of its future potential, a mere 7 cents per coin. From a free experimental token to 7 cents, it was a start, a flicker of life in the digital darkness. But the path to glory is never a straight line. 2011 brought the first taste of success and the first bitter sting of failure. The price of 1 Bitcoin astonishingly hit $1, a moment of parity that sent ripples of excitement through its small community. For the first time, it felt real. But just as quickly, the dream was threatened. The MTGOX exchange suffered a major hack, and the price tumbled. It was the first of many brutal lessons in volatility, a harsh reminder of the risks lurking in this new, unregulated frontier. Critics began to circle, calling it a fad, a bubble, a tool for criminals. The journey could have ended right there, yet the faithful held on. They believed. By 2013, their faith was rewarded as Bitcoin, against all odds, rocketed past the $1,000 mark. The world was starting to pay attention. But with greater heights came even more devastating falls. In 2014, the unthinkable happened. Mt. Gox, once the world's largest Bitcoin exchange, collapsed, declaring bankruptcy after hackers made off with nearly $500 million worth of its users' coins. It was a cataclysmic event. Confidence was shattered. The media declared Bitcoin dead. Pundits and experts wrote its obituary, dismissing it as a failed experiment. The price crashed, and a long, cold winter began. For many, this was the end of the road. But true resilience is forged in the darkest of times. Out of the ashes of MTGOX, a stronger, more determined community emerged. They learned, they rebuilt, and they kept coding. And then came 2017. What started as a recovery turned into a phenomenon. Fueled by a new wave of American investors fascinated by the idea of a decentralized currency, Bitcoin began an ascent that defied all logic and expectation. It didn't just reclaim its old highs, it obliterated them. The price surged past $1,000, then $10,000, culminating in a breathtaking peak, near $20,000 by the year's end. It was a national conversation. Mainstream finance could no longer ignore it. 2 of the most respected exchanges in the United States, the CME and CBOE, began listing Bitcoin futures. giving it a stamp of institutional legitimacy it had never known. As predictable as the seasons, the boom was followed by a bust. The momentum carried into 2021, pushing Bitcoin to an incredible new all-time high of nearly $69,000 in November. But the journey remained a battlefield. China launched a full-scale crackdown, banning mining and payments, while the U.S. Federal Reserve signaled interest rate hikes, spooking investors. The price fell once again. 2022 ushered in a brutal crypto winter. As the Fed aggressively raised rates to combat inflation, capital fled from riskier assets like crypto. The market was further shaken to its core by the shocking collapse of the FTX exchange, a scandal that felt like Mt. Gox all over again, decimating investor confidence and casting a dark shadow over the entire industry. Yet, just when it seemed like the winter would never end, green shoots began to appear in 2023. With inflation cooling, expectations grew that the Fed would finally pivot and cut rates. More importantly, the biggest institutions on Wall Street were lining up, seeking approval for a spot Bitcoin ETF in the United States, the holy grail of crypto adoption. The hope of Main Street and Wall Street converging propelled a powerful recovery. This incredible momentum exploded in 2024. The ETFs were approved, unlocking a torrent of new capital. Bitcoin roared past its old highs, fueled by growing bipartisan support from U.S. politicians who now saw it as a symbol of American innovation. It became a force on the political stage and in the portfolios of millions, surging past the monumental $100,000 mark by the end of the year. The journey was far from over, as a market correction in late 2025 brought the price back below $85,000, a familiar reminder that in this market, nothing is guaranteed. From a mysterious white paper to a global financial powerhouse, from two pizzas in Florida to the trading floors of Wall Street, Bitcoin's story is a testament to spirit of innovation, resilience, and unwavering belief in a better future. It has been hacked, banned, declared dead, and dismissed more times than anyone can count. Yet with every fall, it has risen stronger. With growing acceptance from the world's largest financial institutions, governments, and everyday investors, Bitcoin is no longer just on the path to becoming a mainstream financial instrument. For many, it has already arrived. The road ahead will undoubtedly have more storms, more challenges, and more uncertainty. But its journey from an obscure digital token to the undisputed king of cryptocurrencies is a powerful story of the power of a revolutionary idea and the unbreakable trust of a community that dared to imagine a new kind of money.